Resident Evil's an amazing survival horror and gaming series as a whole, which I don't really think has that much bad about it at all, but I'm going to be contradicting what I just said in this video because I'm going to be going over one thing I hate in every Resident Evil game. But real quick, before we get into the video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below for more awesome Resident Evil content and to help me reach 3,000 subscribers. And now without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with Resident Evil 0, we got the no item box. Even though this isn't the worst thing in the world, it could still be pretty irritating when you have so much good loot, but you need to pick up a key or something, so then you have to drop a massive pile of ammo just so you could pick up the key that you need to progress through the game. And this becomes especially annoying when you see a good weapon, but it takes up 2 inventory slots, so you have to make the decision to either drop some good loot or leave the weapon behind, all simply because there's no item box. Next up, we have Resident Evil 1, and the thing I hate about this game is that the campaigns don't align, cause Chris and Jill's stories are both too similar and too different to both be true. And the fact that they could have done an A and B scenario thing like they did with Leon and Claire in RE2, but they just chose not to, makes it all that much more annoying. And with the Resident Evil 1 remake, it's literally the exact same thing, but 10 times worse because this is a remake, so they literally had every chance in the world to make an A and B scenario system, but they just chose not to yet again. Like Capcom, if you make a Resident Evil 1 remake in the RE engine, please implement the A and B scenario system, just so we could see what it would be like if both stories were canon. Next up, we have Resident Evil 2, and I'm pretty sure you already know where this is headed. So what I hate about this game is, you know, most of the aspects from Claire A, Leon B are canon, and that is the technically canon scenario, right? Well, some of the aspects from Leon A, Claire B are canon, and that's absolutely disgusting to have 2 separate scenarios where each of them are partially canon, and I'm so glad that the remake improved upon that, and they saw where they messed up with the RE1 remake, and then they finally set the record straight for the RE2 canon scenarios. I think the biggest problem that I have with Resident Evil 3 is that it was way too underdeveloped because Capcom just rushed the entire development of the game just so they could release one more game on the PS1. Because Capcom wanted their first big title on the PS2 to be Resident Evil Code Veronica, so they rushed the development of RE3, and we did end up getting a very great game, but just imagine how much better it could have been if it would have gotten its full development. And next up we have the RE3 remake, and this was definitely the one with the most to choose from, but if I had to say one thing, it would definitely be how poorly executed Nemesis was. Like in the original game, Nemesis was absolutely terrifying, like he'd be going to extensive lengths to kill your guy, but in the remake they just treat him like any other stalker enemy in the Resident Evil series, and he doesn't really do much besides chase you around. I mean, he did have a couple special abilities, but it was nothing like in the original game where he'd be hopping through windows and going into the sewers to chase you down. And it was also really easy to take him down in the remake, when in the original it would take your entire arsenal and then some. In the remake it just takes maybe 1 or 2 pistol magazines, and that's about it. And it was just an overall underwhelming experience. I could have been so much better if Capcom just decided not to rush the game like they did with the original, and it could have been one of, if not the greatest Resident Evil game in the series, but they didn't. So next up we have Code Veronica, and this was definitely the hardest one on the list to pick from because it's a genuinely perfect game with not very many flaws at all. But I gotta say, it does feel a little bit stretched out, like Capcom just wanted to make the game a little bit longer than it actually needed to be, so then they just added a couple extra random events for whatever reason. And with Resident Evil 4, I'm just gonna go with what all of you guys are thinking as well, because it's literally the only bad thing about this game, because this game is literally perfect, and that is Ashley. Well, not Ashley as a character, just how the way she plays in-game was executed, from her screaming every time she gets picked up by an enemy, all the way to her interactions with enemies. It's just all bad. And I feel like Capcom could have done so much better with this, but they just decided not to for some reason, and I'm not trying to spread any hate towards Capcom. They're one of the greatest companies on the planet, and all their games are truly amazing. I don't have any hate towards any Resident Evil game at all. It's just some of the things in the games are a bit annoying. And now we have the RE4 remake, and I gotta say, the worst part about this game has to be all the cut content, from the cheesy dialogue to the various different areas that were just cut out of the game. Like, there was no need to cut out the "no thanks bro" line. I mean, that was absolutely hilarious. They really had to do that to my boy Leon. They really cut out some of his best moments in the entire Resident Evil series just in favor of making the game a little bit more serious. And also, we can't forget about the U3, the gondola, the laser room, the assignment Ada. Like, where are they at, Capcom? Please tell me, where are they at? Then we have Resident Evil 5, and the problem I have with this is the extensive action sequence. Just kidding, I literally have zero problem with the action sequences, but where the real problem is at is Sheva's AI. Yeah, the AI that literally walks over to the chainsaw guy and just stands there and lets it kill it. Yeah, that AI. Like, not even Ashley was that bad. Like, where did Capcom get this AI? Like, literally, there's no way that they legitimately put that in the game. It's horrible. It's like either play the game on co-op mode or play the game on babysitter mode, how you have to be protecting Sheva from literally everything. And also they made her have limited ammo, so when she runs out, you have to give her your ammo, which digs into your supply that you worked hard to get. And not to mention, she's constantly getting herself killed as well as the player. Like, where did Capcom get this? I'm legitimately curious who was selling this bad of a player AI. Like, bro, I'm not even lying. And next up, we got Resident Evil 6, and in my opinion, the worst part of this game has to be the whole Carla Radames situation, or whatever she's called. Like, that was just confusing and uncalled for. Bro, it legitimately took me like 3 to 5 playthroughs of the game just to understand what the heck was going on with the whole Carla Radames situation. Like, I don't know if that was just me or anything, but that was extremely confusing. Like how she's supposed to be a clone of Ada, but she's not a clone of Ada, but then you find out she kind of is a clone of Ada, and then after that, you find out she's actually not a clone of Ada and she's just a bioweapon made by Simmons in order to destroy the world. You guys could see how this is confusing, right? Right? Anybody? Then we got Resident Evil 7, and this wasn't even a Resident Evil game until the end. Like, what the heck? Like, it didn't even feel like a Resident Evil game story-wise. It had nothing to do with the rest of the series. Like, the developer specifically said that he wanted it to be completely different from the rest of the series. Why? Like, of course it felt like Resident Evil gameplay-wise and everything. Like, it was a great survival horror game and a great Resident Evil game, don't get me wrong. But, like, story-wise, it legitimately felt like a completely different series. Like, a whole different game until the end when Chris came in. And then we got the DLCs and Resident Evil Village, which kind of cleared it up a little bit and added to the story, so it was more tying in with the rest of the series. But, like... And last but certainly not least, we got Resident Evil Village, and roast me in the comments saying it's not even part of the game or whatever you want to say in the comments. I don't really care, but it's gotta be the Lady D craze of 2021. That was the weirdest and worst thing to come out of this game. Like, what? You guys are so down bad. How did you even let this happen? Like, I could either go on talking about this forever, or I could just show you guys. Like, all I gotta say to get my point across here is just like 10 million views, guys. Look at this video on screen. 10 million views. Who watched this? Well, there you have it, guys. One thing I hate about every Resident Evil game. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below to never miss an upload from your boy and to help me reach 3,000 subscribers. And I'll see you all on the next episode of Bagels Battle.